Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder of Deeper Into Movies, and we're a pop-up cinema. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by writer-director Leo Leigh. Leo and I have been friends for a few years, and I've been a big fan of his short films such as Mother and Rewind Britain. And finally, his debut movie is here. It's called Sweet Sue. It's one of our favorites of the year. It's about a middle-aged woman who is back on the dating scene looking for love, who meets a mysterious biker. And it's out this week. I urge you to go see it. Leo and I spoke about the movie, British cinema, British TV, growing up with a video store, and lots more. Here's me and Leo Leigh.
This is it, right? We're doing it. This
is the real deal. This is as good as it gets.
Well, listen, it was great. It was great chatting, man.
Thanks, man. We'll see you in the year.
Yeah. Thanks for the other night as well, man. I much appreciate it.
That was a fun one. The crowd really hit with the crowd, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly, that was the best screening in terms of the energy in the room. Like, you know how you see people say the energy in the room, and then actually when you make a film,
especially with a comedy as well, when you can feel the beats hitting. And obviously I've seen it before, and I was like, wait till they fucking work out the no spoilers for the relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
That really slapped.
Because you know when you like in the past I've made shorts, and I'm like, the shorts I've made, it's very like, you know, my main kind of thing was just like not like gags, but just like, is it funny?
Yeah.
I think like this is a slight departure in the sense that, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping there are bits that are funny in it, but it's also kind of got a bit of, you know, a bit of feeling in it, and it's a bit more about people's relationships than just about gag. So I hope that kind of translated for the audience, but I think it did. It
did. Everyone I spoke to really came away with real love and compassion for all the characters.
Did I tell you about what happened in Rome when we were there at the festival?
No. This
is easily the best, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was like the best reaction I've ever had from. Whereas in the film's called Sweet Sue, the program's got like the blurb about the film is very kind of like, could make it sound like it's a kind of quite kind of tender, sweet movie, which in some moments it is, but let's face it, it's like predominantly people being horrible to each other. And this like Italian woman came up to me. There was like a group of them, and they'd obviously like seen the blurb, and they were like excited to see the film. And she was like, "Oh, you know, we're so excited to see your film." It was like a real like warmth and like, you know, support for a film she hadn't even seen yet. And then we showed the film, and it went down well, and you know, blah blah blah. And then I saw her as we were like leaving the cinema, and I was like, "Oh, Sweet Sue." And she just turned and she just gave me this look. Or this, she basically just went into my soul and just like ripped my heart out with her eyes, as if to say, this film you've made is so fucking disgusting. Like, how dare you? It was amazing. She was so offended in just the look she gave me. I was like, okay. I was like, wow. It was amazing. I mean,
what element do you think really did her in?
I don't know. I can't explain. I think maybe I really don't know, but it was weirdly like I got a bit of a buzz out of it.
That's amazing.
Reaction, like, you know, whatever. Like, it was just the idea that someone was that you know, reacted that badly to it. Kind of I don't know. Just the power of cinema. I got super excited.
That's like, well, didn't Bruce Robinson, he was paranoid that Withnail and I wasn't funny or wasn't going to land, and then they did a screening in London, and it was just deathly silent for the whole fucking film, and he was like literally having a panic attack for the entire film. Then he found out afterwards, everyone was like, Dankeschön, Dankeschön. And he's like, wait, does any fucking one here speak English? And they're like, no, we just roped in a bunch of German exchange students because they had nothing to do for the day. And he was like, why would you fucking put me through that? He was
Because
like,
I realized, have you read the James Brown book, The Load, the guy that set up Loaded magazine?
no, no, no.
Like surprisingly amazing. Well, it's not surprisingly amazing. I knew it was going to be good, but because he's like, he's an interesting guy. But he's talking about that film and how like he used to love that film, but like no one had seen it, and it was a very like cult underground thing.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if this is true, but I'm assuming it is because he says it in his book. But he like started putting screenings on of it and started bigging it up in his magazine. And then that's kind of like, because I remember like when in the 90s, like we'd seen it, but it wasn't like it wasn't available. And then there was a period where it kind of came out, kind of got re-released. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember seeing
It blew up
I remember seeing it posters for it in the video store.
Yeah.
But this is so dumb, but out of context, it's just those two guys on a hill somewhere. And I assumed it was a detective movie because Richard E. Grant's got the Mac.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, this is just a couple of detectives trying to, solve a murder of a dead body on a hill or something. And then I saw it on Channel 4. My brother said, you need to watch this. This is the funniest film ever. And I was like, the detective one. And he said, they say cunt more than any times I've heard it in a movie. And I was like, to the video store.
To the video store, dude. I actually bought my good friend there, Caution. He's like, it's like our favorite film. And for a 40th, I bought like an Italian original poster of it. But in Italy, it's called like something like My Best Friend's Breakfast. And it's like a picture of them, and it's got like a weird like illustration of like a full English breakfast on or it might even be called full English. It's some random like weird. It's not called with Nana and I. It's called like something breakfast, and it's so weird. And it's like I bought this original Italian version of it.
So is that the Ralph Steadman picture, or is it something?
No, it's some like dodgy photo with like it's nothing to do with the original artwork at all. It's actually a really shit poster, but I just thought it was fun. I mean, the original was great, but this one wasn't great. But yeah, I've not seen that film in a long time.
Bruce Robinson, he went off and wrote like a 800-page tome on Jack the Ripper.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah, like he spent like 10 years researching, and similar to kind of a Zodiac killer. It was one of those ones where like I really think like everyone does when they write those books, like I really think I've cracked it with this one, guys.
Is this it? Are we doing it?
This is it, man.
Did you ever go to the Kubrick archive at the...
Yeah, that was incredible.
But no, but but not the exhibition.
Oh, no, I did the exhibition. I haven't gone through the archives at the uni.
To Elephant Castle, to, I don't know what it's called now, LCC, LP, I don't know, whatever. The London College of Communication, I suppose it's called now. But yeah, you go down and you've got to put some white gloves on, you sit at a table and they bring out, I don't know, it's not all of his stuff, it's not all of the stuff because there's much more of it. But like, yeah, you've got like original letters that he wrote to Peter Sellers and like the matte paintings from 2001. And you're sitting there just like, whoa, this is like, it's amazing.
Oh, I need to do that. Why haven't I done that?
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
I like the documentary John Ronson did on, have you seen that one where he's doing the one where they're archiving up all the...
Yeah, the boxes.
Yeah.
Kubrick's boxes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good doc.
Yeah, so that's essentially...
What went into the archive?
Yeah, but not all of it, just like a fraction of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Really cool. Did you hear the Nicole Kidman story about Eyes Wide Shut, where she was in the house and he had her on call to like, if you're not going to be working like today, but just, or maybe even tomorrow or next week, but I just want you there just in case I need you.
Right.
And so she was like, fucking 2 weeks went by or something. She was like, I'm just going to go to France for the day. So she goes to like Paris, she comes back, no one says anything. She's like, okay. And she's like another couple of days. Then after a while, she got a bit cocky. She went to Australia. And then like he's like calls her and she's like, oh hey Stanley, and he's like, where are you? She's like, well, I'm here at the house, and he's like, okay, well I want you in today. She's like, well, and he's like, you're in Australia, aren't you? And she's like, and then like he came back and then she didn't work for like another 3 weeks or something. Well, I'll probably bodge that story up a bit, but that's the bones, the nuts and bolts of it.
That's absolutely insane.
What's your
But
favorite film?
Barry Lyndon, and then the more and more I watch Eyes Wide Shut and think about all those bizarre fucking scenes,
Mm.
and it becomes a close second. But then the Shining's so great, but it's almost, I don't know. It's like something like, there's probably a term for it, but like Smells Like Teen Spirit, or things that you see. It's so fucking ubiquitous. It's so everywhere
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
it's so steeped in the pop culture and your brain that you can't really
Yeah, yeah.
almost take a step back and kind of, I wish I could
Yeah.
reset and just. But that's obviously got incredible moments. But yeah, Eyes Wide Shut and Barry Lyndon, top
When
two.
I was younger, we got a copy of Clockwork Orange like before you could get it, because you know how it was like you couldn't get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure somebody could get it, but like in the 90s, it
No,
was
I had to get a 10th generation pirate copy.
yeah, yeah. But we just got a copy of it, and it was like a Friday night, whatever, 13, 14, 15, roughly, and people coming over to smoke weed, and you'd sit around and put this film on, and people would just be like, oh, this is fucking nasty. What is this? Is well weird. And then all of a sudden they'd get well into it, and I mean, you just used to watch that film like just on loop. It's just crazy film when you're a kid.
It is. I remember when I first got Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Mm.
and just thought it was going to be a fucking, you know,
Yeah,
slasher schlock bloodfest.
yeah, yeah.
And then it gets so fucking under your skin. It's so fucking slow and horrible.
Yeah, that's
It's
what's
part two
slow.
is kind of what you think it was going to be, but
Mm.
similar to Clockwork Orange, when you heard this film is so crazy that you had to ban it in the UK because he was scared that it was going to, incite teenagers murdering homeless people across there.
Yeah, he didn't want to be responsible, right? I think
Yeah,
it's the British press, as always, kind of. He's just like the whole like Mary Whitehouse video nasty thing. Fucking
yeah,
an absolute joke. It's like, the idea of like all these guys, these like stuffy kind of grey suit wearing pasty weirdos sat in an office watching like Driller Killer and Cannibal Holocaust and that, and then having to like burn like all these tapes. It's
yeah,
just insane to me, man. Like that we were the only country that had that censorship.
yeah. I love the idea that they just be available in petrol stations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
When VHS first kind of blew up and nobody really knew how impactful it would be, and there was just like tapes and fucking newsagents and stuff like
yeah. Well,
that. So
that's what's like so amazing about the fact that you know, you can take a space on High Street.
yeah,
All you've got to do is put some shelves up, and then you've got like an amazing business because you've got all this amazing artwork on the walls,
yeah,
these huge, beautiful, big, puffy boxes with all these crazy shit on the walls.
yeah,
Like you've just got an amazing business, and it's like, and like, I remember like our video shop was run by this guy called Nick, this Cypriot guy called Nick Dimitri, and called Nick's Videos, and like he would like the whole thing with that is you'd go around to get like the paper from my dad or whatever, take the dog around there, and you'd go in and you'd never ever say no to anything you rented.
amazing.
Even when I was a really little kid, so I was getting like Freddy, The Running Man, Predator, all those movies, all the horror stuff, like American Ninja 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like all these weird like movies and like the Ghoulies and Critters and just like all these 18 movies. But they were like kids movies, and I even look at those. I still think they're kids movies. Those, do you know what I mean? Like in the sense that it's not like he was renting us, like some dodgy kind of dark like Deliverance or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it was more like kind of high octane American trashy kind
Hmm.
of. And so yeah, he would just rent us anything. And so I that and me and my brother tracked him down like I don't know, maybe more than over 10 years ago. And like he was like, oh, I remember you guys. I remember you guys. And like we sat with him in the Greek Cyprus Center on my old road in Wood Green and had a coffee. And we were like, we want to like recreate your video shop. And we want to do this whole exhibition. And he was like, we went back to his house and we went into his loft and he had all the old stock.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
anyway, he didn't have all of it, but he had a lot of it. And he had like the laminating machine that he used to like make the original cards. And he put he
Uh,
we were sat with his family in his kitchen, and he was like, I mean, we hadn't seen this guy since like the late 80s or something, early 90s. So he was like, he revved this machine up. It's like the laminating machine still worked. And like we spent like a whole day with him, and he was telling us how he came to London from Cyprus, set up a news agents, and then was like, had a few videos, but everyone was just like renting the videos, and then he decided to just go video. And it'd be like a guy would come around with a wallet every month or whatever with the catalog of all the films,
hmm.
and you'd say, "Oh, I want that one and that one." He'd come back with a box and give you the tapes. And like he was just saying how much of an amazing business it was for people. And then obviously the government with little Mary Whitehouse just fucked it up for them. It's a shame, but yeah, he that was an amazing film education. His place, the fact that there was no censorship.
Was there any censorship in your house as to what you watch?
No, not at all. The same, it was almost the same, but just like a different set of films. But we had in our house up the wall, up on the stairs, it was just like the whole wall was films, but they were all recorded from the television and they're all handwritten labels. So, I mean, maybe we had a few bought films, maybe like three or four, but they were all recorded from the telly. So we had like,
Who's recording? Everyone, like you, your brothers, your dad,
yeah,
and
everyone,
stuff,
but
or
I'd say my dad mostly, but yeah, we were also doing it. But so it'd be like, obviously he's like watching films, so I'm sitting watching films with him. So I remember watching like Fitzcarraldo and then
whoa.
Burden of Dreams because that was on TV and he was obviously well into that. So he was like, so this film about a guy getting a boat over a mountain and they actually did it. You got to come and watch it. And I'd be sitting there like, wow, this is mental. And then watching like, Klaus Kinski going mental and shouting on this hill. It was like, so yeah. And then we had like all the Buster Keaton stuff, Chaplin stuff. We still love all that. And then we had like they did a season in the 90s of all the Jackie Chan stuff. So like Police Story and
Yeah,
Project A. Like and like the Better Tomorrow films. I don't know if you remember those.
of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, so it was like this kind of massive. And then we had all the other, we had all the kind of Hollywoody, like we had all the great kind of Spielberg and Gremlins and all that and whatever, Indiana Jones. But yeah, it was just like kind of a mega mix. So between like our like video wall and then Nick's, it was like a pretty good.
That's a perfect mix.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. But also the other thing which I'm really kind of into is like, we had like the network premiere of Star Wars, like when it was on TV,
Yeah,
who actually got. And like the ads in between films. Like now, so when I watch Star Wars now, in my like system in my brain is this thing of like, the bit where Vader goes to Princess Leia and she's in the prison cell thing,
yeah.
like that kind of ball thing with the needle coming towards her or whatever.
This is when
At
it.
that moment, an ad comes in.
What was it for? Like fucking Tesco or something? Or
And it was a like chocolate mint advert. So every time I'm watching it, I'm like, here comes the cut, here comes the chocolate mint bit, and it never comes. But so yeah, like so I used to always watch the ads, and then the ones I didn't like, I'd fast forward through the shit ads, and then oh yeah, it's this one. This is a great ad. And then we'd watched like a Kellogg's ad where a guy's like riding a bike through a paper logo, and it was like, whoa,
Oh
this is
yeah,
so...
yeah.
So I was well into the ads as well. It's weird.
That kind of adds up from, no pun, from when you've got loads of weird adverts on your Instagram that I see.
Yeah. I love like old weird British ads. Definitely. I like. Do you remember the Heineken one, the water in Majorca don't taste like what it all says?
Yeah.
And we used to quote that all the time when I was a kid. But the actress in that is Sylvestra, and she is the little girl in The Boy from Space. Do you remember The Boy from Space, the BBC looking
Yes.
education program?
Yeah, I do. Wait.
I know that because I've met her a few times. Like, I don't say I know her, but I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God, I used to. It's weird because I used to watch it in Boy from Space because The Boy from Space was made in the '60s, but they repeated it all the way through into the '80s. It
Right.
was
I'm
like
trying to think
late
of.
'60s, early '70s.
Wait, am I getting this confused with Chucky? Chucky was fucking creepy as hell. Do you remember
Yeah, that
Chucky?
was yeah. No, this was like Look and Read was that thing of like like Magic E and all that, and then
Yeah,
you'd
yeah,
have
yeah.
the thing was like these two kids, this little weird creepy kid with like silver skin and like silver hair and a blue suit is coming towards them in this field, and then they like adopt him and they realize he's from space, and then there's like spelling things you've got and you've got like a little exercise book
Yeah.
with the program. You kind of go, you have to spell words. And so I used to watch this in school when, remember like they used to wheel that big TV in.
Oh yeah, best day of the fucking year when that
Yeah.
shit came in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when the TV came in, you're like, yes, it's like time, it's Boy from Space time. And then later there was um Through the Dragon's Eye. Do you remember that one?
That was amazing. Yeah. That was
That
really
weird dude,
cool.
the guy with the cricket bat. But yeah, like I love all that kind of old British TV. I mean, I love American TV, but like the British stuff, I don't know why, but it always, I don't know. Like that, have you seen that Dark and Lonely Water advert about
No.
don't drown in the water? It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. You must have seen that. There's a guy with a
I
hood,
probably
and he stood like under a tree, and there's these little kids like playing by the water, and his voice is like, "Don't go down by the water," and it's like
no.
it's
Oh
always
my
like
god.
it's like a hot. It's like it looks like some kind of like Nick Rogue kind of.
Yeah.
It's amazing, but that was like the '70s, but. I think that might even be on like the BFI player.
The safety ads.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, like there's a guy on Instagram that makes like Christmas decorations of like Pender's Fen and
Yeah.
weird, creepy stuff, and he made one of that. So it's the hooded guy, and I've got it on my Christmas tree at the moment.
Oh, that's fucking amazing. I need to
Called like
get one.
hobby. And, um, but yeah, no, yeah. So that all that kind of watching all those tapes with all the ads as well. Like there's like maybe I don't know, like a very small fraction of those tapes still exist. So I'm gonna maybe start digitizing all of the ads. I got nothing better to do in my time.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Mubi. Mubi is a great streaming service dedicating to elevating great cinema. I've been a Mubi subscriber for years, and I'm going to give you 3 of my favorites from the Mubi UK platform. Okay, let me have a look. Number 1, Gone Girl by David Fincher. Okay, this is weird, but I am obsessed with the first 90 minutes of this movie until it gets crazy. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. I don't know what it is. There's something about the vibe and the kind of cold, eerie atmosphere of this movie. I put it on all the time when I'm working. So do that. Hopefully you'll fall in love with it and that weird glacial vibe that it's got as well. Okay, this is amazing. Mubi has bought a lot of the Shaw Brothers catalog. Shaw Brothers started in the 60s. Four brothers who started making martial arts movies across Southeast Asia. Okay, so Kung Fu, when I was a teenager, 18, 19, I discovered Wu-Tang Clan. I was obsessed with Kung Fu movies, and Wu-Tang always used Kung Fu movie samples, and I'd always try and find the movies that the samples were from because I'm a geek. So 36 Chambers of Shaolin, that's a classic. I love that movie where he's learning to be a Kung Fu master and he has to go through all 36 chambers of the academy to become a master. That's a great one. So start there and dig in. Holy crap, there's loads. Five Deadly Venoms, I know that one is referenced by Tarantino. That's all I've seen. Okay, there's like 1, 3, 6, 9. There's over 12 movies. So dig into those over the festive period. Okay, and my final one, I want to pick Blue Steel by Catherine Bigelow, starring Jamie Lee Curtis as a rookie cop who gets suspended from duty after a first day, and she finds herself the object of desire for a serial killer, played by the absolutely creepy Ron Silver. This is great erotic thriller, 90s crime drama. They just don't make him like this anymore. So Blue Steel, not to be confused with the Zoolander fashion face, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's it from me. And the good news is you can watch all these movies and more for 30 days for free. Just go to mubi.com/deeper into movies. Watch my recommendations and watch a ton more. There's always loads of great stuff to watch on the movie platform.
Golden Age, right? You should check this guy out. You go to he lives in forget where he lives now, but he has this huge like warehouse kind of right on his land next to his house in the countryside.
Oh, right. No, I'm thinking Colin Video 99.
Yeah. But so those guys know each other.
Oh.
And so when we were making Rewind Britain, I was like, we wanted to film on an original tube camera, right? And so this guy, he is the guy that supplies all original equipment to film and TV, but he's got it on lockdown. Like no one else really has what he has.
Yeah.
And so he's saying this to him on the phone. He's like, well, yeah, you need to come here to see it for yourself because I can't do it justice. So we go down there and I went with Christoph, who shot Rewind Britain, and you go into his house. He lives in this little cottage, right? Makes us some tea. And then we go across this almost like a farm into this massive warehouse that he's got. And he's got like 2 original broadcast trucks from the 50s. He's got like VHS cameras. He's got 60mm cameras. He's got original monitors, original TVs. He's got TV broadcast cameras from like TV studios. Like when they did that film with Tom Hanks about what's his name, the children's entertainer from the 70s.
Oh, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah.
Fred Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, yeah. So
yeah.
He supplied like all of the cameras for that. So he's got like, so when you see that film, the footage of the actual like TV studio stuff is like actually those cameras. So he went to LA and had to like maintain those cameras.
Whoa.
And you go in there and he's even got an original cine machine that you used to take 16mm and get it ready for British TV broadcast, which no, he says he's the only one in the country. So me and Christoph are standing there like, wow, man, this guy is like, you know. But if you ever get the chance, I don't think you can go there unless you're renting some stuff off him. But and he got like super angry because he was like, because I know what will happen. I was like, what's that? I'm going to rent you this. I'm going to rent you this camera. You're gonna drive off, and then what's going to happen is next week when you're shooting, I'm going to get a call from someone, and they're going to say, "Oh, camera's broken. Can you help us?" And I was like, "No, it's fine. That's not going to happen." He goes, "No, yeah. You say that, but I guarantee you to give me a call whinging about camera not working." And I was like, "Oh, whatever." So then we got on the set, we were filming, and then the camera did started
Oh my
playing up.
God.
Someone was like, "Well, I'll just call so and so from Golden Age," and I was like, I heard him down the phone. He's going, "Oh, I knew this would happen. I knew this would happen." And all this. It was like fucking hell, man. But yeah, that camera is amazing. That tube camera we shot with, it was
dude. I bought one on eBay.
Oh yeah.
And then I completely forgot that you told me that it was a broadcast camera. There's no VHS. I thought I somehow in my head I thought there was a VHS component.
No. What it is you have the camera, and then a lead goes down into a VHS pack,
which is the strap like that she has in the.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to think. But then what we did is you can actually bypass that completely, and you can put in a digital recorder. So normally, like when you see that footage, it's kind of like being one generation VHS.
Yeah.
But actually, what you can do is you can go from the tube camera directly into digital, so it has this old school look, but it's very clean.
Right. Oh, I need to do that.
It looks mad. It almost looks like kind of completely, like an authentic look, because it is, but it's just hasn't got a VHS. I mean, we ran the whole film to VHS anyway, so it means fucking nothing. But yeah, I don't know why we did that really. My editor Paco was like, because we shot all of it on 16 apart from that tube camera stuff.
Right.
It looks amazing. It looks like really beautiful. And then because like the whole point is going back to those, like watching, those ads, in between films, and I was a kid, the idea was that like it's as if it had been recorded from television. That's why at the beginning there's like a little announcement and stuff. And we wanted the whole idea of that film was that I wanted it to be a series, and that you'd have fake ads in between all of the British like ads for like kind of Oxo Cube type things. You'd make up products and have it, So we pitched it, but like everyone was like, "No way." This is like the worst idea ever. I've got loads of episodes that all planned out. We had like a football dad Sunday. He takes his kids and he's filming, and then he becomes obsessed with the referee because like the referee made a bad decision about his 8-year-old. So he starts stalking this ref with his camera. And it's like all these other episodes, and people were just like, "What are you going on about?" But it's a shame because that would have been a good show to do. But
how do you handle and dust yourself off from these kind of amazing and brilliant and strange ideas that you're pitching and no one's getting or backing or willing to throw the necessary budgets and stuff?
Just drink. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, the thing is you end up making all these treatments, and like it's really, I'm not, the thing about it is it's that, the episode in Seinfeld where they pitched in the show, and the guy says, why do people want to watch the show? And George says, because it's on TV. And he said, it's not yet, it isn't. And you're like, it's like, that if you make something, like someone will like it, or just by the sort of averages. Like if I'm into it, then obviously there's got to be someone that's into it.
For sure.
So you kind of know it'll work on some level. And that if it's on TV, people will watch it because if it's blah, blah, blah. So you kind of know that. And and you think, hey, I've got these ideas, and we've got like a real strong aesthetic, and they've all got a style, and I can imagine what actors we would get in them. And so you've got all these ideas, and you're really you're really pumped, um, and then, you know, for whatever reason, it's just not quite the thing that
Mm-hmm.
I want to make, and then maybe you don't take it to enough people, and then like it loses momentum, and so anyway, you just got to kind of just move on to the next thing. You know, I've got like, so I kind of write up stuff, ideas, and get some images together, and I work with someone to like help me put it together because, you know, it's not always, but sometimes to get it really tight. And you know, you spend ages finessing this treatment. And I've still got them. And I've got like a folder on my Dropbox, like treatments. It's like, you know, and you know, you can, you know, it's not like it's not like they don't exist. You can still kind of potentially make them one day.
Mm.
But yeah, you just got to keep firing out the ideas. And then, you know, like with the Sweet Sue, you know, that took us so long to get the money for that. It was like, I genuinely didn't think we'd ever make it. And Scott, I've got Scott and Andy, two producers, but at the time I was only working with Scott. And it was like, I think it's time to move on, you know, like just think it's time to try and get something else off the ground. And he said, look, let's just try one more, like, try it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Brought in Andy, who's like Andy Brunskill, who's like the kind of master at figuring out how you can kind of get gap funding.
Yeah.
And they're both like massively creative as producers, but at the same time, he's got this kind of ability to kind of understand how you can get those little bits to kind of make up the amount you need. And it was off the back of that because we had money from BBC, and then boom, we just like, oh my God, we're actually making this thing. And like we had to make cuts and reduce the script because it was, you know, too big for the budget we had. But yeah, it was kind of, you realize that like a good idea isn't always the thing. Sometimes you do need someone to get those little bits of money to you know, push you over the line.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was, yeah, the frustrating thing about it is we had the money from BBC Films for like years, literally years, because Evie Yates was like, you know, massive champion of the film. And she was like, how's it going? You know, you know, she was putting out calls, and she was like massively helpful, but there's only a certain amount she can do, you know, because it's like, so it's frustrating because you have that money there, but you need to get
Mm-hmm.
other bits to make the thing happen. So, um, you know, so I know people now that are like, they've got a certain amount of money, but they can't make it with that. They have to have the other bit in order to.
Mm-hmm. Fuck, that's frustrating.
I mean, I was really lucky because coming off the back of documentaries, that was really an amazing time because I was employed by a guy called Russell at a company called UDocs, and I'd go between that company and Vice and make just films. And then never Russell essentially was like, look, I'm going to set up this internet TV channel, and me and my friend just kind of ran that. And the whole thing was, you can kind of make whatever you want, and we'll pay you a wage to just kind of do whatever. So we were making all these like weird little docs, short films, and just like ligging around with the camera. And like, it was amazing to do that because it was just taught us how to edit, taught me about cuts, taught me about, you know, what shots mean in, you know, when you're shooting docs. And then did stuff with Andy Capper at Vice. And then when I was like, well, I've got to make a short now, you know, like fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't even know where to start with that in terms of getting money. I was like completely clueless. I was like, had like meetings with people, but I just was like, it seemed like such an impossible thing to penetrate. And then Jesse Pearson, who you know.
Yeah, big shouts to Jesse.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I do owe that guy a lot because he started working for that company,
Super
Super Deluxe.
Deluxe.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
doesn't, I think they're all part of Adult Swim. And I'd just written a film, which was his mother. And he emailed me, he said, hey man, like I've just started working with this new company, like have you got a short? And I sent him that, and he was like, oh man, we just got to make this. And he didn't give me any notes on the script at all. He just said, you should just make that. Gave us a budget. We shot it. edited it, he was like, it's great. He literally didn't get involved in terms of like, I mean, he was there creatively, but he didn't start like getting in the way, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And that is the film that really like helped get this film made, because it gives you something to talk about. And I was going for meetings with like no film. Like, I mean, I've done documentaries, but it's really hard because they're like, well, we don't really know what your style is because or
Yeah.
what. Whereas when it's like that, it's like, oh, okay, so that's the thing, you know. And I was like, yeah, that's the thing. And that's when I first met Eva off the back of that, you know. And so, for him to have just like completely let me go and do that without any compromise was the key to getting this film made, I'd say.
I knew Jesse as the editor of Vice, but then I remember when we were talking about Vice TV, and I was like, you know what show I loved? Guitar Moves with Matt Sweeney, where it's just him meeting up with legendary guitar players, and it's the first show I've seen that's not like a guitar bro, like, let me show you how to solo and stuff, and he's just kind of organically talking about how they started playing or what kind of guitars they vibe with and learning stuff. And Jesse was like, yeah, I invented that show. And then it was the same with Soft Focus, which I think is the best music show ever.
Yeah, that's where I met him.
Yeah, but it's so funny because I was telling you when I was talking about the show I want to make, I was like, I kind of want to have my intro like the scene in the beginning of Soft Focus where Ian's wandering around and I think he's feeding the birds or something. Or
I shot all that.
Yeah, and you were like, I shot that, and that was your reference to the Beatles.
Yeah, because it was in Hard Day's Night when Ringo's down he's on his own, like kind of like, all miserable and stuff. So we were filming around London for the intro. Like we'd shot like all the interviews for like however many weeks or whatever. And then it was just me, Ian, Jesse, and Andy just kind of like ligging around London trying to get these like intro shots. And I was like, oh, you know that bit in 5 Days Night with Ringo, and Ian was like, oh yeah, I love that bit. So yeah, that was where I met Jesse, and actually I met Andy then too. But my favorite one of those is with Marky Smith.
Oh, that's incredible.
That one, you know what? The better one is actually the one they did. I think it was called the Masters series or whatever,
with John Doran.
Yeah. That's actually a funnier interview because he's talking about
Twilight.
Yeah, and he's going on about like vampirism is a crime at the end of the day.
He has this weird reflection. It's like, it's fucking illegal, you know. And he was like, what? He's like, biting people's necks and drinking blood, it's not right. And it's like,
he's amazing.
I love that he had that revelation.
Like, have you ever seen him in that long interview in I think it's the Green Man Festival?
No.
Talking about, they're like, what do you think about the Stone Roses at Heaton Park? And no, they say to him, have you ever seen a ghost? He went, yeah, I saw a monk in Heaton Park. And they were like, and he went, yeah, well, since the Stone Roses played there, I don't think that monk's come back, if I'm honest. I'm like, fucking, he's just like got an absolute ability to, he's an untouchable character. It was an untouchable character in the sense that you can't, you just can't kind of like get him in any way. Like, because he's a very confrontational character, but there's not so much you can kind of do to, I mean, when we filmed him, he turned up and he was like snorting these like massive lines of speed, like just before. And then he came in and he was just drinking a Stella, and he was talking about Gene Simmons going around. There was a TV documentary where Gene Simmons was like School of Rock kind of thing.
Rock School, yeah. I bought that on DVD in a charity shop just the other month.
Yeah, so there you go. So he's going like. He's like, there's some kid trying to do fucking algebra. And like, he's like, come on, you got to play rock and roll. The kid's like, I don't want to. I just want to learn maths.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hilarious. He's just a funny dude, man.
What age did you think you wanted to become a filmmaker? Whereas obviously film is in your family, but when was the age you thought I wanna do this?
Um, I just it's a tough one. That I don't really, can't really. I wasn't like a moment where like kind of woke up one morning and you know what I mean. I suppose yeah, it was the kind of it felt like it was a thing you could just do based on you know obviously what my dad does, but I think it was more actually, if I'm honest, it was more just like I was so and still am like so obsessed with watching films.
Yeah.
So just like really, that's all I did. I mean, I was just like would sit for hours and watch films, and you know, um, and like it's like we had like a camera that like I probably just ended up shooting kind of weird stuff with, but when I really got serious about it was probably at uni because I was just kind of floating around doing a bit of you know photography. Like I did all kinds of stuff. It wasn't just you know even though I was
Hmm.
obsessed. And then at uni, when I left uni, like because I didn't really spend the whole time there, I left like after a year. But all my friends, like I kind of hung around in still in the town and stuff, and just had like some job in London. Would come back to Farnham where the thing is, where the uni was, and a friend of mine because I was like around to do stuff. So I started
Hmm.
filming my other mates' films because like just a cameraman. And then that kind of carried on when I left uni. I just started like shooting stuff. You know, like in kind of 2004, 5, there was all these like little companies doing like, you know, viral content or,
Yeah.
you know, so I ended up doing a lot of that for years. So that kind of just morphed into documentary stuff. And then, but it was always like making drama seemed like weirdly like an untouchable thing. I
Hmm.
just didn't honestly didn't know how to penetrate that world. I just didn't know how to get into that world because it just seemed like I was so in a self-shooting culture where you just
Yeah.
pick up a camera and you just kind of, you know, I was like doing jobs where like you go down to like a shopping center and you have to film somebody handing out like a little drink, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those like rubbish money jobs. And then in between that, you know, doing little doco stuff. So I don't know really. Yeah, it was just kind of like a gradual thing. Um, I always wanted to make films, but it honestly just felt like something that because now like cameras are, you know, like there was a very much a difference between like a DV camera,
Yeah.
60 mil 35, you know,
Yeah.
whereas now that whole it's very much the divide is much less. So you could
Yeah.
make like a film look pretty amazing on a small, quite cheap camera. So there was like a huge leap to try and like, oh, when could we ever shoot on
Yeah,
35?
for sure. What
That's
made
what
you what made you
you,
quit uni?
uh,
Or did you have
well,
like a plan B, or was there something that made you say fuck this,
no,
I'm
no, no.
out?
It was
Or
more, no, it was more just like the thought I found the whole place just like a really sterile kind of corporate shitty place. There
mm,
was like art university with filmmakers and painters and photographers. Yeah, it looked like it's like very sterile, pretty
mm.
unimaginative. So I ended up just kind of like, you know, like, and then me and my friend got like, we got barred from the student union,
What'd you do?
just general, just silly nonsense. And
Right.
then we were like, well, we can't go anywhere. So we started putting on our own like parties, like
Mm.
kind of raves in like the woods and stuff. And that was a lot of fun. But then it was like, I kind of ended up just kind of doing that more than anything else. And then I just thought, well, and then they sent me a letter saying you haven't passed. So I was like, well, there's no point in carrying on because it's
Mm.
just. But then I ended up doing more work because I wasn't there. Actually, like you know, I was using the equipment in there, you know, that you could hire out. There was a studio that like we used to make there was a company in Farnham that you could like give them a tape and they um get your film and they print it onto like 20 or 30 VHS at one hit on this machine.
I mean, yeah.
What we used to do is make like the flyer for the club night. We'd make it onto tape. So we make a little film of like this character like talking and he went on this like mad adventure. It was like, do you ever see the films that the Beta Band made?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like I was massively into those films. Like when I used to go and see the Beta Band, they always used to play these really lo-fi,
Mm.
slightly weird kind of movies. So we were like, it was kind of like that style. Well, at least I thought it was. Probably wasn't at all, but it's definitely not as good as those. But it was that kind of vibe. And so then we would post those kind of VHS flyers through all the student halls. So that's how. So we did. So I got really obsessed with that, and so I kind of like just thought, well, we'll just keep doing that because it was just more interesting. And then yeah, and then so I ended up like when we were shooting one of like the ads or whatever it was, we were in this studio and like my mate was in like a shopping trolley and the security guard from the uni was like pretending to push him on a green screen. And then we filmed like in the supermarket, we filmed like down the aisles and then like comped that in. So he looks like he's talking to the camera and stuff. And I got a call from the uni, right? So the upstairs, like the faculty or whatever, and they were like, they do this call to like ask you whether or not you're kind of doing okay. Because they've kicked you out, or not kicked you out, but they've told you can't continue. And I was like, you know what? Ever since you sent me that letter, I've just decided that I've packed in filmmaking and I can't do it anymore. And they were like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I just can't even speak to you right now. And then I was like, right, action. I'm downstairs in their studio. It was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, so I don't know really. Yeah, I've always kind of been interested in it, but I don't know when the moment was.
And how did you find work after uni?
Yeah, we just ended up like we worked for this small production. No, I don't even know what it was. It was like a production company in Brixton. I forget what it was called now. And we would shoot like if there was like a billboard with an ad on it, you had to go and film the different billboards, or you'd film an event. Then we worked for this other company where, as I say, me and my friends that I live with, we shot like NHS conferences in Manchester and corporate events, and it was just all that kind of stuff. And like we shot this thing for Chicken Raiders.
What's Chicken Raiders? Sounds
Chicken
great.
Raiders is like this instant, like will make you like live less time with each bite.
Right.
It's like
Bernard Matthews kind of thing.
Worst.
Okay.
Worst. Like the worst. It was like really bad. Anyway, we would just shoot these things and it was like, we've got to go and film these guys in chicken outfits, like up and down the country, and then like fighting in the street, and then you do vox pops. It's like just, all that kind of stuff. And we just did that for years. And then lucky enough to start working for that company, Udocs, where then I actually started making actual films.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vice, and then, but yeah, it was just like a long time of just filming absolutely.
But what's the time span between Chicken Raiders and like Swansea? Is it Swansea Love Story, the heroin documentary?
Yeah, Swansea Love Story, yeah.
Swansea Love Story, yeah.
Few years.
Right.
Something like that, yeah. But it was just like, when you get in with the company, a small company, and they're like, can you go to Birmingham on Monday and film, a stand in the shopping centre? And it's like, whatever, you go pick up a camera, you get on the train, it's like, so yeah, I was just doing that for so long, all that kind of stuff. But then, yeah, and then yeah, me and Andy, the first one we made was the Blackpool doc, which was just us in Blackpool filming different characters.
That was an exciting time from the outside at least. I thought that was a really exciting time in digital age content where Vice were making those really weird documentaries and stuff, like the one where Shane went to Russia to see when he went to the Chernobyl area to see the levels of
Yeah.
radiation. That was fucking crazy. Yeah, that seems a
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I was never massively into like all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, my relationship with that company was a bit weird because I didn't, I just used to kind of go in and like just very sheepishly just kind of sit in. I don't, it's open planned offices. The whole thing's a nightmare. But we were lucky because it was like I think it was called VBS then, but it was
yeah.
like the beginning before it all turned into we are the best company on earth. It was just like they had like one camera under a desk with a battery that didn't quite fit. But we were just like, let's go make a film in Blackpool. And this
Yeah.
wouldn't to anyone. We literally got into a car and just drove to Blackpool and made a film, and then that was that. And the same with the other two, Swansea Love Story and Beautiful Liverpool. I don't remember ever pitching it to anyone. We just went and did it, and we just made it up as we went along. So there was that in that respect, it was really good because it was funny enough, like the last time I went in there, I was like, I've been to like these crop circle conventions, and you've got all these guys, and like one of my dad's really old friends was this amazing guy called Michael Glickman, and he's like he's passed away since then, but his whole thing was like he was like an expert in crop circles, and
Hmm.
other people saying, "Oh, we make them." Other people saying they're not, no one knows who's made them, and there's all these different like weird arguments between all these different characters. But at the center of it are all these pretty amazing pieces of art in fields. And so it was just funny to me that like you had all these like weird arguments going on in the countryside every summer. Anyway, so I had all these like amazing characters that I could have interviewed, and I went in to pitch it to Vice
Hmm.
because all of a sudden I had to like, you know, I wasn't allowed to just go and do it even after we'd made those three films. I had to like go in, and I wasn't even with someone that I knew. It was like uh, some young girl, and she was like, so I was, this is the film I want to make. She said, right, there's a thing we do here, and I don't know if you know about this. And I was like, oh, what's that? She was like, this is a thing called cutaways. And I was like, okay, well, sorry, what? She was like, yeah, so like, I don't know, like when you're like filming something, right? What you do, yeah, is if like you see something in the room that like feels like it's like, relevant to what they're saying, that you shoot it. And then it means that like if you want to cut the interview up, you can kind of like cut to it. And that's why it's called a cutaway. And I was like, listen, right, I'm out of here, man. This is just like, I was like, I didn't even respond to it. I was like, wow, okay, that's good advice.
It is, yeah.
No, to be fair, it's good advice. Yeah.
That's so fucking strange.
I
So
was like, okay, it's like it was bizarre. But then I set all the interviews up, and they were like, yeah, you can make that film. And then I was almost started to make it, and then they were like, yeah, we don't want to make it anymore.
not enough cutaways.
And then yeah, not enough cutaways. Yeah, and then they made it anyway.
No.
Yeah, they went and made it with a presenter.
Ah,
So
fuck's sake.
yeah. But yeah, I should have listened to her, man. It's just I should have accepted the cutaway challenge. Yeah, it was interesting when Swansea Love Story came out because it seemed like everyone was really into it. And
Yeah.
kind of over time, was not that there was like one guy was like suggesting that we'd like paid people to take heroin, which like
Fucking hell.
seriously fucking upset me, man, because it's like couldn't have been further from the truth. It was like really hard to make that film in terms of
Yeah,
track.
I was watching a few bits of it earlier on good old Daily Motion, and fucking heavy shit, man. That really harrowing raw footage.
Yeah, and it's
That
like obviously you're in a situation where you're like, I've never filmed anything like this before, and you're like, there's all those moral things are going through your head. But then you think about all the films that have been made that really deal with those things, and it's like, well, like, do these films deserve to be made, and why do they deserve to be made? And
yeah.
if and it's like it's so easy just to say, oh, like a bunch of arseholes from Vice went to Swansea and started paying people to take heroin. I get it. Like, obviously, that's a
Hmm.
very like logical narrative if you want to go down that road, but the experience of it is just like, really like spending like months with those characters and like, going around to the guys, one of them mum's house and talking to her about it. And like, she's clean and very kind. So it was just all these things that you don't see. Do you know what I mean? Um, but there's nothing you can do about people thinking that. So I just have to, to live with it, I suppose.
I've still got my letter from when I was picked to be on the Vice blogging network, where they used to, I used to do a diary of stuff I used to get up to and gigs I used to go to and people I used to hang out with, and I got picked to be on the Vice blogging network, and they sent me a £50 American Apparel voucher to say thank you, which was like the ultimate Vice reward. But I used to interview loads of people and say, I write for Vice, and not mention the blog part, and so get really good access to loads of people, and until I wanted to interview the band Health, and they were like looping you in with the Vice music editor just to confirm this, and I was like, oh shit, I've been busted. You have a Rita Sue and Bob 2 poster behind you. What's your favorite Alan Clark?
Oh man. I mean, I love that one, but probably like maybe Road,
Yeah.
or I like that Hallelujah Handshake. You ever seen that one?
I haven't seen that one. Shit, is that on those massive box sets?
Yeah, yeah. It's like a really weird film about a guy who he's like a bit of a menace, and he ends up kind of infiltrating this like kind of church. So it's one of those things where, those like effortless play for today's that are just so, you can tell no one was breathing down anyone's neck.
Yes, yeah.
It just went, yeah, great. Anyway, yeah, I'd love to see it when it's done. Here's the budget. Because, but that, I mean, I love The Firm. Obviously, Elephant is like a game changer in a way.
I wonder what time do you know what kind of schedule that would be coming out on? Would that be like a Sunday night prime time?
Well, I know that Elephant was like 9 o'clock, but that wasn't BBC. But even so, because I think Danny Boyle produced that. But yeah, no, I think how it works is you would go in to the BBC and they'd say, right, like for instance, David Leland, who wrote Made in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And you wrote the series of 4 films about education called Tales Out of School, and Made in Britain was one of those films. And he did one with Jim Broadbent, and he didn't direct them, he just wrote them. But he kind of went to Margaret Matheson, who was one of the producers at Play for Today at BBC. I think it was her. And he just said, look, I want to, I've decided I really want to make a set of 4 films about education in Britain. And she said, great, go write that. He wrote them. And they said, these are fantastic. Right, so we've assigned, Alan Clark wants to do that one, and so wants to do that one. They just went and made them, and then that was it. There was, like, I think you used to go in, they'd say, right, here, they used to open a diary, this is what I've heard anyway, and say, here's a time slot. And they'd say, does that work for you? Yeah, okay, great. Here's a slip. They'd give you a little ticket. You go down the hall. You go see somebody about the budget. Then you'd go off, make it, and then you'd come back, and then they just put it on TV.
Fucking hell!
Unless there wasn't some horrendous madness that you hadn't.
But even the fucking pitch. What's the one where Elephant, where everyone's just getting fucking.
Yeah, Elephant wasn't BBC, but yeah, that's still an apps. Well, Christine.
Yes.
One about little kids shooting heroin, and the whole was filmed under a flight path on purpose. I mean, there's hardly.
It's just incredible when you look back at things like that, or just like.
Yeah, it's like a film with hardly any dialogue, the whole film shot under a flight path. It's just
Yeah.
planes.
Yeah.
Kids are just shooting up heroin in suburban, middle class homes in a little
Yeah.
sack or whatever it is, and like that's just put on TV. It's like,
Incredible. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's an amazing. Like, do you ever see Brimstone and Treacle, the
That's really creepy. Yeah.
Dennis Potter thing? I mean,
Yeah.
that was very controversial at the time, but it was still played.
Yeah.
Like a film about the devil infiltrating a house because he knows that there's a disabled girl that lives there, and then does things to her, unspeakable things when the parents are out, is just like, you know, and there was no question about, it's bizarre that like there was so much censorship, but when it came to just letting people get on with making stuff, that seemed to be thriving on TV. Like, you know how the British film industry was just like lived on TV, like lived inside, rather than.
Yeah. It was same on the flip side. What did I watch recently that I was upset? Bar Mitzvah Boy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, brilliant, yeah.
It just plays out like almost like today that would be like almost like a Noah Baumbach New York indie or something.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
just to have something just so simple as a kid who's about to have his bar mitzvah and is having a weird crisis about manhood and and faith and what it all means, just playing out and almost in real. It's like, was it 48 hours, like the day before and the day of?
Yeah, brilliant.
Just so great, so simple. And
did you know that Alan Clark, had he like not like passed away, I think he was going to go to America and make what's the one that Aaron Aronofsky made, the drug that
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream, yeah.
Jesus
He'd read that.
Christ.
He'd read Requiem for a Dream, the book.
Yeah.
And he went on this like road trip in America, and he was like, right, that's the film I'm going to make.
Oh my God.
And he never made it, but that would have just been like.
Can you imagine?
Making that.
Did he say who he had attached or any dream?
No, I don't think
far?
I don't think it got to that point. I think it was more just like what he wanted to do.
Shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, so he's an amazing film. I mean, Scum.
I haven't watched that since the 80s.
But which one do you prefer? Do you both?
I think the film version is the one I've more familiar with, but then I saw it on TV, so I'm not sure.
Well, the film one I think is better. So kind of almost describe it as slicker and just kind of a better made film technically.
Yeah.
But I think I watched the interview with Ray Winston when he was talking about the original filming of Scum.
Yeah.
He makes quite a good point, which is that I think it was like maybe 2 years in between the shooting. And he was saying that in the first one, they're like 2 years younger, but like 2 years when you're that age is actually quite a lot.
Yeah.
So it's actually better, the first one, because they're like super young. And that's the point about those Borstalls, is that,
Yeah. What was the point in remaking it? Was it just
they ban it.
Fuck.
And so they banned it. So the whole thing was like, well, let's remake it and do a cinema release. So he got the rights back to the script and remade it.
Right. All the same cast?
No, it's not the same cast. I think David Thrillfall was in the original as the guy, the guy that's polishing his feet and all that.
Yeah.
He's not in it.
Is he the one with the blonde? Who's the one like you're gonna have the blonde afro kind of hair? Was that which one am I?
No. David Thrillfall played the guy, the kind of the almost like a kind of hippie guy that's always talking about
With the blonde hair?
No, I didn't have blonde hair, like dark, kind of long.
Oh, who am I thinking?
The guy that refuses to wear shoes because they're leather.
Yeah.
Right, so he's different. I think there's a couple of other different. I think like Phil Daniels is still in it, and so yeah, it's like very minor the changes, but yeah, no, that film's really, really, really good.
I might treat myself to the Indicator box set for Christmas. and bring
Oh
home
yeah, Echo got me that.
the magic of Scum this
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
this holiday season.
Mm.
Were you ever on sets of your dad's film when you were young?
Yeah, yeah. I think the first one was Life is Sweet,
Nice.
and we're only for like a day. We watched the. I don't know if you're familiar with that film, but the
Yeah.
beginning, my mom's dancing around with the kids in the credit sequence. That's the bit
Yeah.
we watched. Later, I was on. I briefly in '93. I was kind of went. I didn't go on to the set of Naked, like, but I was there and kind of on the pre-production just for like a day.
Oh my God.
And then on like other stuff, like I remember like pretty much I'd say like everyone since then really, pretty much. Like yeah, almost everyone. Um but yeah, no, it's just good because it's like, they're all the same people that I've kind of grown up with, like a family of people that he works with. And obviously people do change, but on the whole, it's like, you know, you see the same. Like he's been working with Dick Pope since Life is Sweet.
Amazing. Did you have a sense at the time as to the importance of your dad's work in cinema, or was it just your old man at work?
Yeah, yeah, it's just my old man at work. It's like, it's like, he, I think like the first time he went to the Cannes Film Festival was with Naked. So, um, in his first, like, so he made Bleak Moments and then
Mm-hmm.
he made stuff for TV. And then his next theatrical feature was High Hopes.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though he was like very well respected, I don't think his films weren't like at the cinema. They were all on TV. So he'd made like, things were kind of well received and seen, but it was a different thing than it is now.
Yeah.
And so then, films like Naked and like Secrets and Lies and stuff, those films became very much like, world cinema.
Yeah. Wasn't it kind of a similar trajectory with Loach's movies that I think they kind of both got almost moved up at the same time?
Yeah, I think Ken Loach he kind of kicked it all off in a way. And why I say that is kind of he was famous for taking the cameras like out of the studio and onto the street.
Yeah.
Making Kathy Come Home was like a revelation for people because it was like you're making like a really hard hitting, very real film, but in the context of, TV. So, and then he's kind of like he kind of set a standard for that kind of filmmaking. Because to say like look, listen, we don't want to film in studios anymore. We want to go out into the real world and
Mm-hmm.
film in houses and real streets. It seems to pretty like obvious to us now,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time, of course, they were doing it in other parts of Europe, but in that time, that was a pretty radical thing to do. So, um, I mean, his films, like, you know, they're just incredible. I mean, like Raining
That's
Stones.
my favorite
Yeah, Raining Stones is.
because I saw Raining Stones and Riff Raff,
Riff Raff is great.
which
Yeah.
I kind of put in the same time I was discovering those in the video shop. I was discovering like Life is Sweet, and then Naked came out. I rented Naked and Hardball the same day. When they good double bill.
I mean, like Kes was like the big one for Ken Loach, right? So
Yeah,
that's like the kind of the kind of on and out of TV onto into the screens kind of thing. But I mean, I might be wrong. And maybe it was one before that. I'm sure maybe there was, but I know that is the kind of the one in a way. Yeah, it's sad to see he's made his last film. Ken Loach.
oh, that's definitely it.
Well, I think so. That's
Oh,
what.
yeah. He said his site isn't as good, so he doesn't want to.
Yeah. Also, like he's done some amazing stuff. So.
For sure. Yeah. When we were talking about Sweet Sue the other night, we were talking about how you've had all the main characters are based on people you've met in real life. But I was wondering, have you got a ton of post-it notes in your head of weird characters you've met over the years that are
Yeah, yeah.
waiting to be placed into onto the screen?
Yeah, I've got, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like it's really is, it's people, uh, like locations that can get you, or just seeing like one little moment or overhearing, like sometimes Chinese, the short film I made, the whole of that film is based on a conversation I heard on a train. Like literally the every
Yeah.
single, like,
Wow.
so
What were you doing? Were you making notes as you went along, or
no, I
were you
was
just
just,
like
I was just
taking it
listening.
in? Right.
So yeah, it is like, Sue is based on a couple of people, not just
Hmm.
one person. And it's
Yeah.
just that, and so, I've always wanted to put like biker funeral in something, and so you have these kind of like all these things floating around, and you think, well, how can I kind of, but it's not even like, well, I'm just going to put that in. I get to a point in the writing where I go, well, she's going to hook up. I've got this idea that there's this character that she's going to be called Ron, because I've kind of thought about that character. It was like,
Mm.
why not make him a biker?
Yeah.
And in a
Combine the
bike,
two. Yeah.
I can have her brother pick the bucket, and then like then she can meet him at this biker funeral, and then I can have, so it's like
Nice. Yeah.
it's taking all these elements and then kind of connecting them as you're writing. Oh, I can put that in.
Yeah.
Well, as I was writing, we were joking the other night about the air freshener in the film where
Yeah.
it's like sitting in a house and then all of a sudden this arrogant little smelly little fucker just goes off in the corner and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, all
Yeah.
of a sudden the whole environment is turned into this like, it smells like a spring meadow, but you
For
catch
sure.
cancer.
Yeah.
So, so it's always one of those things is like, it'd be just those little, because I think like, kind of not joking when I say this, but going back to that amazing girls at Vice when she was saying,
Yeah.
you gotta have cutaways. It's kind of like it's like a motivated cutaway. So I give her full credit for it for that shot. But
She made your career. She gave you.
she did. She's actually here. I've got her.
Okay.
Come and say hello. Um, but yeah, no. So you just got all these little ideas and notes, and you think, well, as you're writing, you go, oh, do you know what? I can put that in there, or there was
Yeah.
something I saw the other day, and it's like completely sparked like an idea for an entire film just based on one thing I saw for like, because it's an action that you think, well, if
Yeah.
somebody did that, then what would that lead on to? Oh, maybe they could meet
Right.
this
Right.
here and then that would happen. So, and then you have a completely other idea that's nothing to do with it. And you think, well, how could I make those link? So, I mean, this is nothing new. This is just writing, but like, it's just, I'm always on the lookout for some kind of, or somebody tells me an anecdote and there's like one little thing in it that I could think, oh, could that be something?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just like, you know, somebody on a tube and you think they're just a character. You think they're not, I haven't heard them speak. I don't know who they are. Just by looking at them, you just start imagining who they are and what they get up to. So
It's funny you say that. When you pop round for a cup of tea, I remember my girlfriend came out and she'd just been to Crufts and she bought these
oh yeah.
ridiculous like 4XL t-shirts with dogs on them. And you're like, I like a t-shirt. And she's like, yeah, I'm a dog groomer. I groom from home. And she's talking. I was like, stop talking. This is peak Leo material. It's going to
My
be
eyes lit up.
it's going to be the film bro and the dog groomer. It's going to be fucking poodles around my house. And I was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was kind of funny. I was like, you're
Yeah, but I mean,
literally
I don't want
becoming
anybody
a
to like, people to kind of not like my friends. If they hear this, they'll be like, "Don't mention the incident with the ice cream because he'll put it
yeah,
in."
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like people are terrified to talk to Larry David now because they think if they had a weird interaction or whatever, it's going to become the I'm going to be the
Mm.
handshake guy or whatever, or the selfie guy
Yeah, it must be
and
so
stuff.
amazing to have like an output where he can just like roll out that thing of just all those things he wants to put into something, like the satisfaction of that.
Yeah,
Like, so I was lucky enough to be able to just like make film after film after film and not have these kind of like, relentless kind of periods of like down, like you just want to just go, net, you want to go, go, go. It's like, you hear like the other day I was in a meeting and somebody's, I'm not going to say who, but they were like, so and so, we've just heard they've got a 5 film deal.
yeah,
where they can make 5 films. That's it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that would be the
Um,
best thing ever, just to be able to know that you've got 5 films lined up and you can just go from
yeah. And you
there.
can just pace yourself, put in,
Yeah.
yeah. I
But there you
suppose,
go.
yeah, that kind of pain of, well, it was in De Palma was even saying that he says, everyone looks at his career and just like, you're the GOAT. You've made this, this, and this, and this. And he's like, everyone's a fucking compromise, or so and so dropped out and I was told I can go with this next if I want to do it, or I was trying to make this, but we couldn't get the money for this, so then this got optioned. And he's like, it may look like this beautiful career
Yeah,
run, but it's just
because
fucking chaos.
yeah, an actor friend of mine that came to the screening the other night, she was in a TV thing that she shot like ages ago. And then you do something else like, like a year later. But because they kind of come out at the same time, people just assume that you went from
You're
one to
blowing
another,
up, yeah.
which is like I haven't worked in ages. So it's just that thing, isn't it? It's like the perception of, how it all goes down.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's like, I feel unbelievably lucky to have made a film. So I'm not complaining. It's great. But it's just sometimes you can't actually believe that, oh my God, we made a film that's actually like going to be seen in a cinema.
yeah,
It's crazy to even, because it's so long when you think it's not going to happen.
yeah. Is it
You
sinking in?
actually,
Do you feel good? Or
it
do you
feels
even?
great. Yeah, I mean, like,
Okay.
there's all there's like you're sat alone in a room and you're writing, right? There's no one else around. It's just you. You're totally in it, and then you hand it in and you have to start having discussions about it, and then you kind of tweak it and da da da, and then you kind of go into the next phase of like, you know, you get the money, and then like, well, you can't afford this. Fine, I'll cut it out. And then you can't do this, you can't do that. And then you got this thing which is like still works as a film, but it's definitely not the full
Yeah,
picture. So, you've got like the stuff that because like the air freshener thing is a good example of like a moment that doesn't need to be there at all. It doesn't have any relevance in terms of story, but it gives you it somehow just kind of gives you a sense of, yeah, all right, it's a bit of a comical, it's a bit of a gag to a certain
yeah,
extent. Same time, it's an insight into Sue's character. And so
yeah,
there was a lot more of just these little incidental kind of observations that happened throughout the film that weren't connected to the actual story that I had to start taking out based on budget, which is that's just filmmaking. But it takes you a while to adapt to the film that it was, and you have to start getting the thing that it used to be, and then actually
yeah,
confirm as the thing that it actually is.
yeah. Robert Rodriguez said that. He said, "There's was it the film you write, the film you edit, and then the film you're left with,
Mm.
and then after a while it kind of washes away, and that's just the movie in the end."
Yeah, and
But
like the writing process, they say, oh, well, you make the film in the edit, but then honestly, I actually think that you're also kind of like the film. Yeah, it's locked and it's now the film, but the kind of discussions you have with people about what things mean changes the way you interpret the things that you intended. So in a way, it's kind of still being written. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
people say, "Oh, I didn't think of her like that," or I thought of her like this, or I didn't think he was, So I would never have pitched this as a love film because I don't really think it is. But is it an anti-love film? Is it people that can't get it together to be in love? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's not that it's like kind of sentimental love film, but it's about, it would never really occur to me until now that it's about people that can't connect, and therefore, so that's a whole nother element of like what the film's about, and that I probably didn't occur to me when I was writing it and maybe even rehearsing it. So that's quite interesting for it to constantly be evolving.
yeah. That's how I introduced it, as people and a film about people and love.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, that works really well.
So yeah, no, it's just kind of when you're in a room with a cinema like the other night when you did the Rio screening, it's just a great time when you're in a room and like people are kind of digging it, or like even if people like hated it, like even that's to me is something. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Like that Italian woman.
yeah, 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 the woman in Rome. It was like, can I get your phone number? I really want to like Zoom you so you can give me that look again. Uh, no, I'll remember that scowl for the rest of my days.
Boom. That's it from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Joshua Eustace for my beautiful music. And we'll speak soon.